Okay, so the third weekend of the Six Nations has kicked off with Scotland hosting France at Murrayfield. It's finished 36 points to 17 in favour of France. The first half, however, was exceptionally even. I think Scotland were actually the better side. They butchered a try at a key moment in the first half, just before half time, which has resulted in France going down the other end of the field and scoring a brilliant try themselves. Um, but it's the first two French tries that are absolutely outstanding. Tries from nothing, really. The Willemse try, when Dupont picks up the ball, he's in his 22. There's no danger. He's collecting a kick from Scotland, an aimless kick downfield, but there's no pressure on him. But where his position is on the field, you wouldn't expect France to go 75 metres and score with, backs and forwards being crucial to the move. Three phases of play later, and Willemse scores a brilliant flair try from France, really. The French just love creating something from nothing, and from 1 to 15, from the front row to the fullback, they can do this without the side. It doesn't matter what position you play. And a second row like Willemse having the pace to keep up with the speed of play and be a support runner. It's a brilliant finish. Literally a flick of the switch and they score. Now, Finn Russell responds with a penalty on 11 minutes. And then 2 minutes later, Mofana scores his try. Again, something from nothing. The handling skills by France, though, it's almost rugby league-esque with some of the offloads. And of course, you've got Sean Edwards as a defence coach from a rugby league background. You can sort of see that rugby league influence rubbing off on this French side. They're offloading. You would expect to see that in the NRL or the Super League, quite frankly. Now, Jaminet did not have a great day off the kicking tee today. He only got 2 conversions out of 5 that he was attempting to convert. He also missed a couple of penalties. Entomac missed his conversion as well, which is a shame because that would have been a bigger scoreline. France were fully deserving of that bigger scoreline. However, after the Mofana try, it's all Scotland for the rest of the first half. And it's just wave after wave of pressure. The French, they lose their concentration. The penalty count goes up. They're making some silly errors. Silly handling errors, silly penalties given away, the breakdown. It's becoming a contest, and Scotland were on top. They were dominating the possession. They're dominating the field position. And Darge, very good young back row forward, good flanker. He was Scotland's best player today by some distance. There's no denying that. Finn Russell didn't have the impact on the game he has in previous games. Stuart Hogg again didn't have the impact I think you would expect from Stuart Hogg, and he did that knock-on right on the stroke of half-time, just before the Ficou try, which led to a scrum, which then led to France clearing their lines, getting downfield, winning the ball back, and then Ficou scoring on the stroke of half-time, I think is a crucial moment. But Darge's try on 29 minutes, that was after wave upon wave upon wave of Scotland attack and France defending, basically. It was a matter of time that Scotland would score. The fact they didn't get that second try in the first half has proven crucial. And the Van der Merwe break and then the Stuart Hogg knock-on just before half-time, I think is the turning point. Because the Gael Ficou try, much like the Mofana try, you would sort of see that kind of try, that style of run, that arcing run and that style of try in rugby league. You would see it in the NRL, you'd see it in the Super League week in, week out. Where he's not brought down, he's allowed to run with the ball for a fair distance. The build-up play to it, again, the handling skills are brilliant. The pace of the breakdown by the French is just second to none. Again, forwards, backs, tight five, outside centre, the whole works. And Ficou, that finish is a rugby league finish as well. Brilliant finish. And quite frankly, you take those 3 bits of brilliance away from the French side, Scotland were the better side. You take those 3 tries away and the scoring something from nothing, Scotland were the better side in the first half. That wasn't the case in the second half, where France just obliterated them. The game opened up, it became very open end to end, and that suited the French style of, okay, we'll just attack from deep because we have the skill set to do it. But it doesn't take them very long after half time for Dante to score his try, which is created by Damien Penaud. With the kick through and then the pressure on the defence, and then Dante picks the ball up and he's 17 stone of inside centre. Yeah, an inside centre weighing nearly 18 stone. People, remember Mathieu Bastareaud? Remember him being regularly panned for his weight and his size? Well, they found another guy who's just as big as Bastareaud in Dante. His try was brilliant, and Penaud, I think, if should have been the man of the match in my opinion. But that's gone obviously to Dupont, and some of Dupont's play, bringing players into play, little breaks, his tackles, his organisation, his leadership. He does create the first try with just pure brilliance. But Dante's try is something of brilliance. Penno's first try, I don't know why WP now is defending on the wing. That is a prop, and he's not the most mobile prop. And I know he's fresh on the field and he's a substitute, but why, oh why, do you have one of your least mobile front row forwards defending on the wing? It's very similar to England, Scotland, where they had Cowan Dickey in a similar position. You don't want that, especially with some of these outside backs the French have. And Penno, it's a walk-in for Penno. I mean, Dante and Fiku are involved as well with the handling, so both centres. But Penno, who's normally an outside centre at club level, plays on the wing for France. He is an outstanding talent for France. Big, powerful winger. I think Van der Merwe, I think, had his number a little bit in certain areas of the collision and for a bit of pace. But Penno, he's held his width. This is clearly they've identified that the Scotland pack have been drawn in. The defensive line's been drawn in. There's a lot of space out there. They create overlap, and Penno just jogs in for his first try. His second try, Entomac, that crossfield kick. Yeah. Entomac, for me, had a quiet game by his standards. That is possibly the best bit of play in the whole match, apart from maybe the first try. Again, Scotland drawn in to defend the line out. They're very, very tight and narrow. There's clearly a massive overlap. If they were to put it through the hands, Scotland could drift across. Penno has held his width like a good winger should. That is a pinpoint kick, crossfield. You couldn't ask for a better kick. It was almost perfect. And Penno again scores another brilliant try. There were other moments where you've got like front row forwards and second row forwards making line breaks and handling skills that you would expect from outside backs. This is how confident this French side is. The ironic thing was, even though they scored 6 tries, Van der Merwe gets his try on the stroke of full time, and Blair Kinghorn, who's come on to replace Finn Russell, had a quiet game. He creates the break for Van der Merwe to score his try under the posts, and that was the best bit of play Scotland had in the game. Finally, that line break and that final pass goes to hand, whereas in the first half with Stuart Hogg, there's a knock on after a similar break. Apart from that, the ironic thing is Scotland had the majority of the possession, over 60% average. At one point, it was as high as 70% possession in the second half. Yet they've conceded 3 tries and scored 1. And overall, they've conceded 6 tries and scored 2. And they had the majority of the possession, a fair proportion of the territory at times, although in the second half that started to go back towards France. As the game opened up, it was very scrappy. There was a lack of control into contact with the ball, handling errors. They were pushing the play. Very early on in the second half, they were starting to push the play. They were losing the breakdown, break down the floor, strips, turnovers. Darge, I think, was their best player in the loose at the breakdown, but the French, a lot of their attacks came from nothing. The 2 Penno tries, there was a fair bit of territory, but the rest of the other 4 of their tries come from pretty much really awkward positions. If you think about it, they shouldn't be scoring. Basically, that's the principle of it. But this reminds me of the French team of the 90s, with Entomac Senior, so to speak, because both of his sons are in the French system now, with Roman and his younger brother playing for the under-20s. Thomas Castagnier, Dominici, that French side that beat the All Blacks in the '99 World Cup semi-final. This is a hark back to that generation, the style that they played. They've got a big, powerful forward pack, and their backline can just create something out of nothing. This French side looked dangerous ball in hand. There was a few little creaks defensively in the first half. Second half, they were outstanding defensively. And Sean Edwards, their defence coach, I think that is definitely rubbed off. They do have that blitz defence. They get in your face very, very quickly. And some of their handling skills are rugby league-esque with the hand, the back of the hand passes, the handling skills, the offloads, very rugby league-esque. And again, I think Sean Edwards would have some kind of influence on that with the coaching setup being from a rugby league background. So Quick tip, if you're going to be kicking, you've got to be accurate with it. Scotland were not accurate enough with their kicking from hand because they just gave France opportunity to just run the ball back. The French were not kicking a lot from deep. They were running the ball back, and they only had to kick when they had to, not because there was a need to. Only when you need a clearance kick. Otherwise, they were happy to run it back. Their outside backs happy to run it back all day long. Scotland not accurate with their kicking from hand. And the breakdown, while Scotland were winning that battle a little bit in the first half, second half that fell apart. And then Scotland got desperate, and they couldn't build any. They were having phases, and it would break down, and then it'd be a nice little penalty, and then France get the ball back. So I don't know what Scotland can take out of this apart from they controlled the possession. They scored 2 good tries. Should have scored more. And defensively, they just could not cope in picking up the French runners. They couldn't cope with the way the French can have a steady pace and then pick it up and then drop it. The French tempo was so unpredictable. This French side looked dangerous. Plain and simple. Now we've got England versus Wales at Twickenham. 2, I think, underperforming sides if we're being fair. Although Wales obviously won against Scotland in the last round. England laboured to that win over Italy. So this is 2 sides that are under the spotlight. And 2 coaches under a lot of pressure. So that's going to be an interesting encounter. But this French side looked dangerous and they're still on for the Grand Slam. There is a clear separation now between France. I would say Ireland is the second best team in the Northern Hemisphere and the rest. There is a clear separation there in my opinion. The French fitness has massively improved. Their discipline has massively improved. Whereas Scotland's discipline is going the other way. So many penalties given away today by Scotland. That hampered them as well. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.